Hey, good evening. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, for the political deep dive. How you doing tonight, Dan?
I am doing so well, Randolph, but I'm tired because it's
I am
daylight
tired.
savings time and it's so stupid. Daylight savings time kills people. It is a proven fact because we do this experiment on, like, I don't know, 2.5 billion people each year. And the number of heart attacks increases by 33% when you
Yep.
lose that hour of sleep. And when
And
you gain
car
it back,
accidents.
it goes back down by 33%.
Yeah, car accidents, all that fun stuff. I mean,
Yep.
my personal preference is to have daylight savings all year round. I'd rather have the hour on the back end rather than the front end. I know people vary on that. I just wish they would pick one. I
Yeah,
don't think it's.
exactly.
I don't. I don't want
Right.
the sun going down at 4:30 in the afternoon on, in the winter. That's why I'm more apt for the later hour. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think that to get away from it, like, being an earlier hour or later hour, we should get rid of the numerical hour system and refer to them as, like, time of days that we do things. So, like, dinner time would be a 3-hour period. So you'd have wake up, breakfast, morning, midday, afternoon nap, dinner, sleepy time, and that's it. And
Stardate.
you could adjust however long those are gonna be in terms of multiple hours and stuff like that. But it's just I don't know. Daylight savings time as a principle, the idea the government said, "You know what? We're gonna change the clocks."
We're
It's like,
saving
"Fuck you
time.
guys." I mean, there's no other reason for it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, I'm more, uh, to me, I don't care if I see the sun when I go into work. It's after I get off of work, if the sun starts going down, like, immediately after I get off work, it's kind of a bummer,
yeah.
and
I mean,
I'd rather have a little bit of time after work to enjoy a little bit of sun.
I've lived further north, so even in
Oh, yeah.
Boston, it's maybe 8 to 4 sunlight during the day. But,
Yeah.
I went to school in England too, in Northern England, which obviously, people don't realize
How
geography
far
unless you're like
north?
you're in geography. But England's way the hell north, and I was in Northern England, and there it was the craziest thing in the world. In the summer, because school runs until July, the sun didn't set till 11 o'clock at
Yeah,
night, and it got up at 3 o'clock and came up at 3 o'clock. So it's all relative. You can move to where you want to live to get the amount of sunlight that you want.
exactly. It just don't don't cut off an hour here and then add it and, at a later time. Just make the damn time
Exactly,
constant.
because we're used to it. I mean, what there's no
You know
reason. There was no reason to change it
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly. So the topic of discussion tonight is that in the news recently, and I don't want this to be a panic discussion about what's going on in the world as far as banking goes, but this past week we had for the first time since the 2008 banking crisis, a bank fail in the United States, and this one was heavily invested in Silicon. Well, it's called Silicon Valley Bank, but it was invested in the startups uh, and not unknown companies. Like I think was it eBay or PayPal has a ton of money wrapped up into Silicon Valley Bank, which the problem
Yeah.
is they had, they have a ton of money that is well. So when you talk about banks, the FDIC insures deposits up to what $1 million
$250,000.
or $250,000. So
Yeah,
you got,
for individual investors.
well, I wonder what it is. It anything for corporations?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah. So I mean, when you've got a ton of money wrapped up in a bank that goes, belly up, that's a significant worry. How do you make payroll? How do you do this? I mean, there are Silicon Valley startups that have been begging for cash the last week because they don't know if they're going to be able to make payroll for their employees. So, um, but I think the discussion tonight really is this is a worrying sign, but I think a lot of people who are, um, I think it can be manipulated into something worse.
I mean, to put it in context, this is not everybody's saying it's the worst collapse since Washington Mutual. You ask a kid today, what's WAMU? They're like, I don't know.
Oh,
Eh, That's something you get with toast, I think. But it's a type of beef, right? Or tuna.
yeah,
Um,
something.
but the WAMU collapse, first of all, one of the biggest takeaways of this is so in 2008, when everything collapsed, when we had the banking collapse, et cetera, nobody even knew what fintech was. Okay, now fintech, financial technology companies, stuff like that, that's everything, right? There's Venmo and what's the one that they're trying to use to kill Venmo? The banks are using. Um,
Uh,
come
there's
on,
Cash App,
come on.
there's Venmo, there's PayPal, there's
There's a big corporate one. What the hell is it called? People, somebody in the audience will know what I'm talking about.
yeah.
Zelle. Zelle.
Oh yeah,
Thank
Zelle.
you.
Okay.
Thank you, audience person who didn't answer. Um, but there are all these fintech companies, ways of transferring money. Thank you, Heidi. I knew you would get it. Um, there's all these fintech companies. There's also a million more lending companies, Rocket Mortgage, and all these other things. So the fact that one of these sort of quote unquote high tech banks is failing, it's actually not a high tech bank because it's still a bank.
Yeah.
I mean, it had some money and it affected people, things like that. But I actually don't think this is going to be a particularly big deal. I think it's going to, maybe ruffle the feathers of some of the startups in the dot com area. But the fact of the matter is the big companies have larger cash reserves than the bank had. And so, it would be easy for eBay or Amazon or Microsoft or Apple. Right? I think Apple's sitting on like $300 billion in cash. Um, they can make this up no problem. But the one thing that is, in my opinion, time to end, and I hope that this at least leads to more talk about it. Fractional reserve lending is the dumbest thing ever. I mean, I know I said daylight savings time is fractional reserve lending is dumber than daylight savings time
All right.
because
Explain fractional reserve.
so fractional reserve lending essentially means that if I I'm a bank and I have $1 million, okay, and I want to lend money out to people, I can actually tell them, here's your magical money and give them uh, $1 million. I can give them up to 10 times, I believe, is the limit for how much a bank can lend out as opposed to their actual reserves.
Reserves. Jeez.
And so what that means is that it's not a problem if everybody's making their payments and coming back. But where it does become a problem is if there's a run on the bank. Okay. And, everybody sees that. What's going on over at Mr. Potter's house? It looks like a bank run. That's my Jimmy Stewart from It's a Wonderful Life. But if there's a bank run, then people are trying to get all their money out. And now all these banks that have fractional reserve lending going on have given out more money than they can possibly pay back. So
Yeah.
that's a disaster. Here's the problem. In this area in this era of fintech and social media, it's not that hard to trigger a run on the bank. And in fact, it's starting to look like Silicon Valley Bank actually isn't broke. They just had a run that was triggered by people speculating that they might be broke.
Yep.
So we can fix all of that by not having fractional reserve lending. Now,
Yeah.
it still becomes a problem because, you know, if I'm a bank, right, and you give me $100, if I lend that out to somebody, how am I able to pay you back when you need it? Right? If it's in somebody's house, as Jimmy Stewart said, I don't have your money. It's over in Joe's house and it's in Laura's house. And so, how do we make that work? Well, how do we used to make it work? We used to make it work that you only lent out the money that you had. And if you wanted something to be invested, people want a return on their investment, then they have to accept a risk. Most people, when they put their money in a savings account, don't think that there's any risk. So you shouldn't be lending it any money. You shouldn't be lending it out. And
Yeah.
the thing is that banks, as they sort of squeeze out more and more money, they don't pay any interest on savings accounts anyway,
No,
or
not
checking
at
accounts
all.
for that matter. And so what's happening with that money? If they're not paying interest on it, they shouldn't be lending it out.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I think, as big as the headlines have been all week, regarding Silicon Valley Bank, and there was another bank that got, um, its charter suspended today. What is the name of that bank? It was Signature Bank, I believe. It's a crypto heavy, a crypto focused bank
Right.
in New York. So, it's not. They've had the second one now. Do I think that there's going to be more? I do think that there's going to be more, but I think when it comes to these banks, and I think when it comes to what's going on, we've had issues where, um, you've got non or international actors trying to influence, the American people, whether it's Russia or China or someone else trying to
Yep.
influence what's going on in the United States, and then putting sowing the seeds of doubt into whatever, whether it's the American democracy or the American banking system. Um, we are ripe for this kind of, okay, an attack on the confidence of our banking system, so that people are driven to go to their bank to make a run on the bank, and um, you know maybe the market fundamentals are there that these banks can pay out some of this stuff. But the problem is, I think once you see it, just you're driving down the street and you see a line outside of your a local bank.
Yep.
Holy
Your
cow, I
local
gotta go to
bank.
my bank. Even if it's not my bank, I'm gonna go to my bank and make sure that my money's taken out, 'cause, once you get the idea that perhaps my next meal is threatened,
Right.
it doesn't matter whether the market fundamentals are there. Nobody's gonna pay attention to that. They're just gonna pay attention to the fact that my bank account may be under risk, and the
Right.
money that I have is under risk.
Right. And it's not really, I mean, your meal is one thing, but it's the money that you've saved that is your retirement so that in 10 years, when you're done, you don't have to work anymore. You've got enough money in the bank that, and it's especially important for the people who have the most money in the bank, which is older people like Dave, who, are thinking about the fact that they want to retire at some point in time. They're old, their joints hurt, and they don't want to
Oh,
keep going to
shit.
work, but they have a lot of money because they've been working all this time. They've been saving it so they can retire. And when those people start thinking, oh my God, there's a run on the bank, then they want to go and they want to get their money out. And the real problem with it is that the FDIC only insures you up to $250,000. And I say, okay, that sounds like a first world problem, but there's something there to the fact that,
Mhm.
there's a lot of people that, I mean, $250,000, if you were going to say that's my retirement fund, that's not a great retirement fund. I mean, I hope that I recognize that, I'm seeing from a place of privilege there, but there's a lot of people who've been saving up all their lives, putting money away so that they could retire
Yeah.
in comfortable fashion. When they hear or see a run on the bank, start to get really nervous.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and we talk about the impact of, because the last time some of this stuff started happening was in 2008 with the financial crisis then. I know a lot of people who had to put off retirement for a few years because their retirement took a massive jolt.
In 2008.
If you were like a year, 2 years away from retirement, a drop off like 2008 it would delay your retirement like 5 years. And $250,000, when you think about it, people are living longer nowadays. So if you're retiring at age 67, uh, to take that retirement fund, and that retirement fund only has $250,000 because that's all the only thing that the government guarantees. Um, that doesn't last long. Just think of your normal monthly expenses now that uh, all the other stuff that gets heaped on once you retire. You're going to end up paying for your own insurance. You're going to pay if you're not done paying off your house, you're still paying that. I mean, you got your monthly bills still coming in. The retirement's supposed to be taking care of that, but if it's only guaranteed up to $250,000, that will not last long at all.
Right. And I mean, we don't want to, A, if you don't have $250,000 in the bank, we're not trying to make you feel bad. But we do want you to think about, saving for your future and then thinking about whether or not banks are the best thing to do. Lars Mapstead made a great point that 6-month treasuries, instead of having your money in banks, is actually a great idea because those are guaranteed no matter what, unless the federal
Yeah.
government fails, which, unless Dave and I get our act together, that's not going to happen. But 6-month treasuries, you'll be getting your money back from the federal government every 6 months, and you can do what's called a ladder system,
Yeah.
where you keep buying 6-month treasuries every 2 months, and then you have a large amount of money in there. It comes due, and you invest the next one. And if you had to have money, then something will come out. Tom Mann points out that Tom Brady must have a really lousy retirement system. Tom, I think he was planning on having his wife support him. So
Yeah.
now, I
Oops.
mean, and I think we can all agree that wasn't a season that was worth coming back for.
No.
So
It
whew,
was not.
that was some bad
I
financial.
forget what was our $1 bet?
I don't know either. Craig,
Dude,
remind us what we bet
Craig,
on.
we're old, man. You got to remind us on that one because
Is he talking about a bet that we made?
we might have made a bet. I don't know. I think
I remember something about it. I don't remember what it was. But the last thing I want to say, we talk about Tom brings up Tom Brady. Tom Brady lost $40 million in the FTX scandal. So it's just crazy.
I mean, he needed Brett Favre as his financial advisor.
he needed Roger Staubach as his financial advisor. But what's interesting about it is, so I just, as a quick aside here, so Myra Kraft, Bob Kraft's wife, who actually is the money in the family, when they bought the team, one of the things that she did was establish a financial literacy class for the rookies. And she had them all come in. And one of the things that she talked about is like, look, all you guys, you've got this money right now. You could buy an apartment building in Boston. I guarantee you that will not lose you money. And if you're out of football, like most of you will be in 2 years, that will be generating you $10,000 a month worth of rent. So she helped out a lot of people, and a lot of players around the league are in better shape because of that. So,
Oh yeah, I mean, I've
except for Tom
heard. Yeah, I mean, we all heard horror stories about some guy getting a rookie deal and breaking off chunks for his friends and his family, and all of a sudden he's broke, gets a knee injury, and his career's over, and he has no money, and
and
all
then
those
selling
friends that he
cocaine.
helped out are gone. Yeah,
Yeah. Somebody who's selling it. Yeah.
exactly.
Brett Favre definitely does have some questionable issues with his investments and LSU and advice and stuff like that. I recommend.
No, it's not LSU. It's
Ole Miss,
no, it's Southern Miss.
Southern Miss.
Southern Miss. Yeah.
Those racist schools are all the same.
Yeah. That's an interesting story in and of itself. What Brett Favre did to siphon off government grants to build a volleyball court. I mean, these were grants for COVID relief and things like that, and he's getting volleyball courts built for his daughter's school.
Exactly. Which,
Yeah.
if you think about it, goes to, again, everything that's wrong with the banking system and the monetary system in general. It's the federal government, and the fact that they're doing something. So it's the federal government that enables fractional reserve lending,
Yep.
because without the government, the banks couldn't do it. Oh,
Okay.
but what was the bet though?
Um.
I mean, I get that it's a reference to the thing, and I'm glad that we even without remembering it, we came in as Mortimer and Randolph Duke.
Yes.
But
Well, remember,
looking good, Billy
Prince,
Ray.
remember Prince Hakeem
Yeah.
gave us money to get back on our feet. So
Yes. Yes. Um, Yeah, and that was a nice little scene in Coming to America.
Yes.
Um, I'm gonna need, but if we did make a $1 bet, I want to know what it was about.
Yeah.
Was it an environment versus heredity question?
Which of the two would make more money, or which?
I don't know. I have no idea. Um,
I'll have to watch the movie again.
oh no, I mean, no, I remember the bet in the movie. What's the bet that we made in real life, though?
If who knows?
I don't know either. Craig knows.
Wouldn't
He's
talk-
going to tell us. Okay, but so back to SVB failing. Um, I think that it's not going to be bad because, first of all, I think it's going to turn out that the money actually is there, that they've got enough to cover their depositors, and there's going to be a statement that they're actually going to come back. It was a run that was caused by speculative
Well,
talk.
I heard that
But
they're auctioning SVB off
yeah,
to the highest bidder, whoever that ends up being, and then they are opening on Monday. They are honoring all accounts, and everyone will have access to all of the money in their accounts. So, I mean, that end of the crisis is averted. I'd
yeah,
be interested to hear more about what's going on with this Signature Bank because it is a crypto focused bank, and I don't know the crypto can take too many more blows that as it has over the last few months. Um, it seems to be kind of a circling drain at this point.
well, I mean, I think that a lot of stupid crypto things are,
Yes.
but it was it, well, Tom's break cracking me up here.
Yes.
I mean, here's the problem: is that just like the rest of fintech, right? Money has to be worth something. It has to have people who have faith in it. Crypto is the same thing, and the problem is that just like credit default swaps or other financial packages that have been made along the way, there are greedy people in the financial services industry who
Oh,
keep
yeah.
making up all this stupid shit that actually has nothing to do with money. It's gambling.
Yeah.
Crypto is like that. Okay. I mean, listen, I'm a crypto fan. I want there to be an alternate system of currency that is not controlled by a central bank or by a government, but it's a gamble. I
Yeah.
mean, any currency is only worth as much value as people put into it. Dollar bills are like that too. I mean, if you're going to talk about, what do you really want to put your money in? What is your real investment? This is a real investment, folks. This is ammunition. I can use this for something. Now, if I don't do it, uh, and if you want to, yes, I happen to like to be paid in 20 gauge shells. Um,
I think you're gonna have to take that to on a trip across the lake there, man. Or like you're off the Chesapeake. You drop that in the Chesapeake, right?
yes, yes, yes. Well, um, I mean, it's one of those weird things, right? It's actually you don't need any permit to buy ammunition,
It's
which is
true.
crazy. And then, of course, you can, if you don't buy a gun, you don't need a permit for it. You don't have to register it with anybody or anything like that. So any and Lars
That's a
brings
good
up a good
point. Yeah.
point. Um, real things have value. We've gone through this once before. Let's say it again. Okay, there's three aspects to money, things of value. There's wealth. Okay, wealth is only ever your personal health and your time. That is your wealth. There are things of value that you can accumulate. Okay, things of value that allow you to enjoy your wealth. Like if you have a very nice house, land to live on, those are things of value that allow you to enjoy your free time and your health. And then the third thing is currency. Currency is a method of exchange that allows us to trade uh, things that we can't really say that we can easily figure out what the value is. An hour of my labor is worth an hour of this, or an hour of a fisherman's labor in terms of catching fish is worth this. We use currency to do that. And so, wealth, your personal health, and your time. your freedom, your liberty. That is your wealth. Value, things of value, currency, things that we use to exchange. But currency is only ever whatever you want it to be worth. And
Yeah.
so, again, this is actually currency. I can trade this to somebody. They know exactly what they're getting. The fact of the matter is, this is 20 gauge ammo. It's probably worthless to Dave. Dave's a 12 gauge guy. Okay. So it doesn't have any value to him. I have to find something else to trade. But I happen to know that with Dave, I can trade 64 gigs of memory. And he's like, yeah, I need 64 gigs of memory. That's how
Nudie,
currency works.
nudie mags. That's what I need. Nudie mags.
I didn't want to pull it up on the
I got
screen.
something.
Exactly. But so when we're talking about these banks failing, right? The banks are trading out currency. Okay. Hey, Dave, I'm also a 12. I'm sort of a 12 gauge guy, but my wife was not a gun person. But where we live, we need to be more responsible. And so a 12 gauge was a good compromise. It's not as loud. It's a gentler gun, but you're still going to hit things with it. And so that was that's why we happen to have this around. But no point in having ammo unless you can do range time regularly. And I'm very happy to live in a place where I can fire a gun on my own land legally, and not have my neighbors turn me in, but also legally. And so we do, range time on our own land once a month. And that's why I happen to have ammo on my desk right now. So back to the whole thing of the currency, the banks, they're lending out fictional currency. And the idea that, a bank is going to fail and it's going to screw a bunch of stuff out. Where do the banks get their money from? They get it from the Federal Reserve, who just made up $6 trillion to pay for all this COVID stuff. So the idea that this bank is going to fail and crush the economy and they won't be bailed out by the federal government, it's crazy. As long as there's nobody there that has pissed off the Democrats, who are the people in charge right now, they're good to go.
Yeah. I mean, if Elon Musk Bank fails,
Exactly.
he's going to go down. But yeah, I know that the federal government will intervene, and if something happens, it could, the government will likely intervene, and although Janet Yellen says that she's not bailing out SVB or any bank that fails, if it does get to a point where massive runs start on multiple banks, then the government's going to intervene. But here's a perfect storm coming up right now because one, we are
you tied into the debt crisis?
$31.5 trillion in debt, and two, we're rapidly approaching the drop dead point of the debt limit, the debt ceiling with the federal government, where at that point we can no longer take on any debt. We default on our loans, all that stuff. Then it becomes a perfect storm that could cause a massive collapse of the American economic system. Now, I think a lot of these stories that we're seeing right now are really to kind of push Congress to make these decisions on extending the debt ceiling for another however long. But
that's a very interesting point because, I mean, for sure, one of the biggest problems, the reason why we're here, is because of what they call ZIRP, zero interest rate products. Okay, the Federal Reserve was giving out money at zero interest rates.
Yep.
Now, here's the thing: do you know anybody who wants to borrow money right now? Anybody in your personal life? If they told you that they were going to pay you back 1%, you'd be like, you know what? That's not worth the risk for me. But what if you could borrow this money at 0% from the bank? And so now there's no risk involved anymore. You lend it out to a bunch of people. That's what happened is the government was lending out all this money at zero, encouraging banks to give out all of these crazy loans. They're actively going out there, right? That's how banks make money, is they give out loans. And so when they can borrow money and there's no cost, they're actively trying. And now this is how the whole system is supposed to work, right? That's their vision, the Federal Reserve, that they control monetary policy by giving away money to the banks, and the banks want to make money, and so they're going out there and selling it. And let's talk about the fact too that really that's what a loan is, right? The interest rate is the price of money. If you want to borrow money, the interest rate is determines how much you have to pay to borrow that money. If you get a housing loan or a 30-year loan, they tell you, oh, it's 4% over 30 years. You don't really think about it, but if you do the math, say that your house has cost $500,000, you're actually going to pay back $1.1 million over the course of the loan. That's how much the price of the money is. So here, where we have a situation where the government has said the price of the money is zero. Anything that has a price of zero has no value. It is actually worthless. So when they made the monetary system worthless, suddenly we have people saying, oh my God, it's worthless. The emperor has no clothes.
Yeah.
That's what leads to a financial crisis. However, are we going to get there this cycle? I don't know. One of the interesting things to think about is think about the fight over who became Speaker of the House, right? You had a group of Republicans that tied up the House for a long time.
Oh,
They
so
are much more opposed to raising the debt ceiling than they are to Kevin McCarthy being the Speaker.
yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting. I
No,
think that
he's
you're
going
going
to
to
have
get
to.
some strange. Go ahead, Dave.
He's going to have to. He will have to use Democrat support to get the debt ceiling raised.
I think you're probably right. And so then the thing becomes, what are people going to be willing to concede? What are the Democrats going to concede? I mean, for one thing, right? It's clear, and Heidi talks about the fact that she didn't get any loans. You know what, Heidi? I didn't get any loans either. It's interesting because when the Paycheck Protection Plan came out, right, the government just printed 0% loans, and almost anybody who applied got those loans. I was executive director of the Libertarian Party, and I talked about it with Nick Sarwark. I'm like, we can get those loans, and we're probably not going to have to pay them back, and we can just meet payroll, and we can use that money that we're saving on ballot access for Joe Jorgensen, on promoting the candidates who are running for office in 2020, on legal fees, stuff like that. It's free money. And Nick came back to me and he's like, we're libertarians. That's
Yeah.
not what we do. And I'm like, you're 100% right. It's not what I wanted to do either, but my job is to present you with every option. I have presented you with that option. I'm glad we're not doing it.
And and to our credit, at that point, there were organizations
Atlas
that
Society.
kind of in that sphere. Yeah, Atlas Society definitely. They took a lot of loans. Some Jeremy Kaufman took
Yeah.
a lot of PPP.
Yeah.
Like two hundred
And
fifty
it's crazy.
thousand, I think.
Huh? What's
I think it was
crazy
like two
about
hundred fifty
for
thousand
the
dollars.
library he did.
Yeah,
It's crazy because if you're talking about just the raw decision, it's a smart decision, right? Because
oh yeah,
you get this money. It's just unethical, in my opinion. Now, I have heard other people saying, I don't think it's unethical. I think the government's printing out loans and giving it to people. So why shouldn't I take advantage of that? I mean, I hear that argument too, but
yeah. I mean, I get the whole kind of the you know uh, the idea that well, it's the government, government's printing money. The government, we're sending money to the government. We're just getting money back to us. And to me, no. When you look at, let's take a look at the national debt clock right now. Per citizen, 900 or $94,483 of debt per person. Per taxpayer, it's 246,000.
right.
Yeah, that that's a problem. And then the knock-on effects of all that money that we gave out and all that money that we created out of thin air for liquidity during the initial parts of the um, COVID lockdowns and the markets crashing. At that point, um, is what we're seeing at the supermarket now. It's inflation. The value of the dollar has gone in the crapper because we put so many dollars out into the market, and the value of the dollar is minuscule compared to where it was.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
you're paying for it. You're paying for it because you're still making the same, probably around the same wage you were right at the beginning of the yeah, some people may be doing better, but at the beginning of the COVID, you're probably getting about the same amount of pay,
Yep.
but
And
you are paying that much more because for these products because the dollar that you're earning is so much less than what it was.
yeah, and if you think about it, I mean, that's the best explanation. Eggs cost more because the value of eggs hasn't changed. I mean, maybe it's changed a little bit because of avian flu and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
really, the fundamental value of one egg, right? Talk about how much I can trade ammunition for. How much can I trade an egg for? You eat an egg. It's got protein, 72 calories. It's delicious. I made shakshuka this morning for breakfast.
Nice.
Um, Egg has the value of what it is. You can't eat a dollar bill.
Yeah. I made chili today. Now I'm the world's leading producer of natural gas.
Outstanding. Dum dump.
Sell me to the Saudis.
So SVB, Silicon Valley Bank, probably not such a big deal. We'll see what happens with Signature Bank. I'm not overly worried about a bunch of banks failing because there's so much extra money in the system. But I think all bets are off if the debt ceiling isn't raised, or
Yes.
if they don't have some sort of deal done. Now, the thing is that the Republicans who, in theory, hold the keys say they don't want to raise the debt ceiling, but they kind of have to. Can they get something good out of it? Could they get a balanced budget amendment? Because once you have a balanced budget amendment, then you don't have to raise the debt ceiling anymore.
Oh yeah. I mean, look at the budget that Joe Biden proposed last week. I mean,
Six
it's like
trillion.
$6 trillion. We take in like $4 trillion a year in taxes.
Yep.
Like you're already selling us $2 trillion down the hole further. Um, and yes, everyone's saying, "Well, we've been in a crisis." Well, we've been perpetually in a crisis for ages. We've got to get some kind of control on the spending because right now we are at 120.36% debt to GDP.
Yep.
That's scary. That is very
Yep.
scary.
Now, I
And
mean, to just play a little bit as devil's advocate, that still makes us better than any other country in the world.
well, our
But
GDP is massive. Yes.
yeah, but it is like I believe Japan is running 25 to 1 debt to GDP. But that's not where the United States has ever been. And if anybody thinks about it, it's stupid.
It is.
Debt
Absolutely.
debt is meant to be a noose, or at least a nose ring to lead the people around with. So
Well,
government
I will
accumulates.
tell,
Go
I
ahead.
will tell you where the Republicans will cave on this one is once you start seeing the stories about uh,
Soldiers not getting
military
paid.
not getting paid, veterans not getting paid, then you're going to start seeing. And here's the thing, I know lots of libertarians will when I say, "Oh, the government will shut down if we don't hit the debt. If we hit the debt ceiling, with the government necessarily will have to shut down." And I know a lot of libertarians cheer that on, but when because eventually it'll start back up again. There's no button to push to stop government. So government's going to start up again, and you're going to spend so much more restarting government, bringing in contractors again to do work that they were doing that they got kicked off those sites and lost all of their accesses. The employees having to come back in, pick up equipment because in some cases they have to give up equipment when things like this happen. So the cost of shutting down government is, if you
Yeah.
just get government going,
Now,
save a lot more money.
This is where like my editor is in my ear right now saying that we have to give the caveat saying that you and I both sort of have irons in this fire,
Sure,
in that
absolutely. Yeah,
both of
we're
our
for the
households
solar
depend
yes,
on paychecks that come from the federal government.
absolutely.
So we've given that disclosure now, but I think we would say the same thing no matter what.
I love when people on Twitter start accusing guys like Nick Sarwark about being feds, and I'm like, "Hi, Fed here."
We wouldn't have Nick Sarwark.
You
um,
can't afford Nick.
yeah, yeah. So we'll see what happens. Keep your eye on the Federal Reserve. Or it's not the Federal Reserve. The debt ceiling. That's going to be the big story. I do like Dave's conspiracy theory that these banks failures are all being rigged to put pressure on Congress to raise the debt ceiling.
I don't think they're being rigged. I think there are some fundamental issues with our banking system right now. It's that the the worry is the stories are being hyped up right now to drive that debate. Now, what I will say is that this is a two-edged sword in that those stories that we're hyping up and worried about right now can be manipulated by international actors like China and Russia to then try and drive us into a banking crisis where we start making runs on the banks. That's where I'm worried about that. We're so ginned up to go after whatever makes the other side look bad that, oh, well, a banking crisis will make Joe Biden look bad. You don't understand what the banking crisis could end up doing to you.
Yeah.
So that's my worry is that is this going to get manipulated into a bigger crisis than it actually is, and then we are dealing with it doesn't even matter about fundamentals whether the fundamentals are right within a bank. It's herd mentality.
Yeah. I agree with that. And that point of it too, that the social media can be used to manipulate uh, things that depend on confidence. Currency depends on confidence.
Yep.
And so the easiest thing to do is to take the depending on confidence out of the banking industry and have it depend on actual assets instead.
Yeah. Tom makes a good point about immigration impacting food prices as well. You're right. I mean, the fact that a lot of farms, I don't know how next year is going to go for, especially the uh, near and dear to Tom and my heart, the Hatch chili market will do with suppressed labor down in southern New Mexico. But um, yeah, it absolutely has an impact on what we're seeing at the markets. But still the fact that companies are shrinking the products and raising the prices to make ends meet.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely true.
All right, are you ready for the news quiz?
I'm ready. I am
You
ready
are
to
ready.
win. We got
All right.
nobody here to slow us down this time.
We don't have AJ here to help us. That's the worry that I have.
All right. Let's get the quiz going.
Oh,
We should
quiz.
give the promo though. We know we got a lot of people commenting.
Yeah.
Guys, you see the buttons up there? Subscribe, like, etc. We need more people out here watching this stuff. Our numbers are getting pretty good right now, which means that for all of you guys who hit like, who hit subscribe, stuff like that, that makes 5 more people that this automatically shows up as a suggested thing for them to look at.
Yep.
So please like, subscribe, hit that bell.
Send me nudes. Oh, never mind.
All right, I'm looking at the previews. I don't know what that
Preview.
one.
That is it's an Indian festival where they do a lot of color. I don't know if it's
Diwali?
Diwali or something that yeah, something like that.
All right. I remember
Child,
the Wally. I don't know who that baby is. But the other
um,
one obviously is the snow somewhere.
yeah, the snow in California. Yeah,
Yeah.
Sierra
Could be
Nevada.
California, could be Tahoe, whatever, but it's crazy.
Yeah, it's It's crazy out there. I saw a picture of somebody was like filming from their third story of a house.
It's
The
insane.
snow was like right there.
It's insane. And I think of myself as a person, and I'm like, I got bug out and I'm prepared for big emergency. But we went through a series of storms in Boston where I ended up with about 5 feet of snow around the outside of the house because we had 6 storms in a row and it just never got cold enough for anything to melt. We still had snow on the ground, well into June because it
Wow.
just took so long to melt.
Yeah, it helped. It hit us in New Mexico. My first year in New Mexico, we lived in Edgewood, which is on the east side of the mountains from Albuquerque. It was El Nino or La Nina. I can't remember which one dumps a bunch of snow on New Mexico, but um, started snowing in November, and it never got warm enough to significantly melt it off. We had probably 2 feet of snow from November all the way until April, before it started melting off. But all right, let's do this. No AJ here to help us, which is scary. Feel free to help us in the chat. We'll display answers as we get to them.
That's right. Audience, we're going to rely on you guys.
Audience participation. You need to be our AJ because she has helped us the last couple weeks. Prince
Yeah.
Harry and Meghan's daughter will be known by which royal title? Princess Lilibet Diana, Countess Lilibet Diana, Duchess Lilibet Diana, or Lady Lilibet Diana. I hate the name Lilibet.
So
Saying that.
I don't think that it's Lilibet at all. I think there's a fifth choice that we can't see.
No.
All right. If I were to guess, she's not a princess because she's not in line for the throne right now.
No.
And she's not going to be a duchess because that's too high up. So I'm going to guess that she's going to be a countess. But I don't know. You're going to tell me lady. Lady! Jerry Lewis there.
Lady
Kenny Rogers also lady.
me.
Oh,
Okay.
that sticks.
Yeah, that sticks.
There's also the Kenny Rogers. Lady.
Tom Mann says Lady Gaga, which
Oh,
fits. It's a
that
combo.
would be a great name, like to just pull that out and say, we're going to name her Lady Gaga.
Because I mean, the royal title, you don't have to. I mean, look at. I mean, King Charles III, yes, but I mean, you can take a different name. I mean, look at the popes.
Well, what's interesting about it too is that if she actually was Lady Gaga and she was a royal, she would get royalty from Lady Gaga.
Lady Godiva might be a little old for her. Maybe I mean a little more risque.
Yep. I don't even know what grapple is.
What is grapple?
I'm guessing
Is
it's
it
a
that
New Mexico thing.
nasty? Is it that nasty sausage-like substance they serve around here? And thunderstorms probably
I think it's what you pave roads with. That's gravel. Sorry.
That's gravel.
All right. So
Heidi thinks
lady.
So we got a lot of ladies here. Ladies night.
We got a lot of ladies, but a lot of those are joking. But I'm inclined to think that we should go with, like, also considering, how out of favor they are. Let's say lady.
All right.
Oh my God!
Princess.
It is princess.
Wow,
that's crazy.
They only get the Duke and Duchess. She gets a princess title.
Wow.
Okay. Off to a banger start.
Yeah,
man.
We're gonna go 0 for 10.
Go pee and then throw up, and because the information is not pleasing.
It is not pleasing. All right, question number 2. Senators unveiled a bipartisan bill this week empowering President Joe Biden to ban which popular app nationwide?
All right, it's TikTok. TikTok.
Yes.
Yeah. However, I got a bunch of thoughts on this. First of all, it's dumb that we have apps, because you could everything that TikTok does could run in an HTML5 web-based app, so you wouldn't have to have anything installed on your phone. Secondly, for a long time, browsers, even now, browsers on your computer run in what's called a sandbox, where they're not allowed to do stuff outside of the sandbox that they're in. Why aren't Google and Apple making little sandboxes for apps? And I guess They are to some extent, but it's not super secure. So all of those things are a problem. But the thing that's the funniest about it is that, here's the government saying,
Yikes.
we don't want people to spy on Americans by
While
using
they
their
spy on
phone.
Americans.
Only we should be using, spying on Americans using their phones. I mean, eh, I personally think it's dumb to try to ban an app, but I think it's dumb that people are installing apps on these devices anyway.
I mean, if China really wants my nudes, I mean, they can have them. Just ask me. I'm good.
I mean, they know that that's your currency, so
That is my currency.
exactly.
Would you like to look at my junk?
Hmm.
Question number 3. Millions of people in India and around the world are celebrating which holiday this week? Diwali, Holi, Ram Navami, or Republic Day?
Yeah. I
I
mean,
think it's Diwali.
yeah, you can't be a software engineer and not know that. So it is Diwali. Oh, slam.
Oh, so I've seen the festival before because when I lived in Atlanta, there was just a massive Indian community there that it was really cool.
Yep.
But yeah, holy cow,
All right. Mortimer
we're
and Randolph are clearly unlucky names for us.
yeah.
You done messed up, Aaron.
Yeah,
Dude, you've got to get the Weenie and the Bean sound clips.
I need to get the Price is Right failure music. Bum,
Right.
bum, 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 wow. All right, question number 4. Which state rejected a ballot measure this week that would have legalized recreational marijuana? I know this one.
It's if it's the state where the wind comes whipping through the weeds, then
Yes,
yes, it's
it is. It
Oklahoma
is
with
not okay.
not okay.
Yeah, voters rejected a measure that would have legalized recreational marijuana in the state for adults 21 and older. Similar measures in November failed in Arkansas, North Dakota, and South Dakota, while voters in Maryland and Missouri approved recreational cannabis use.
Yeah, so I
Waiting for
live in
dispensaries.
Maryland. I am excited. I can't start growing until July, but I am excited to start growing to share with my neighbors. Here's the thing: our law in Maryland our homegrown law is stupid. Oh, Heidi, we should have waited.
We should have
Um,
waited.
our homegrown law is stupid because we can only grow two plants per household. I mean, that's ridiculous. So I have to grow one, give it away, uh, and then the way we like to do it is to grow and then clone. People who are in the cannabis space know that you prefer to have female plants,
Yeah.
and if they are self-fertilizing, all sorts of good stuff that you can do. So you get a plant that you like, you want to keep cloning it and giving it away to people. But that means if I'm cloning it, I can only have one plant. Then when I make the clone, now I've got a second one. Then I have to give it away, make another clone. It's just a huge pain in the ass. Two is not enough.
Are they doing
Fortunately, I live in the middle of a
dispensaries
forest.
there? Is dispensaries part of the law?
Is what?
Are dispensaries part of the law, like
Yeah,
legal?
yeah, yeah. They'll have dispensaries too.
Yeah, probably be 2 years, just like Virginia. Virginia's a little further along, but I'm waiting for
Yeah,
that to
but I
open.
don't think Virginia has home grow. I don't
No,
know.
I see. I don't live in Virginia, so the home grow doesn't matter to me. Like,
Right,
I
right, right.
just want to go to the
But
go to
dude,
the dispensary. So,
Maryland is as close to you as Virginia.
oh no, Maryland is far closer to me. That like I can't wait for Maryland to open up a dispensary here in
Yeah, yeah,
Hagerstown because that's like 5 minutes from me.
yeah.
So
So it
rather than
sounds
a
to me
30
like
minute
you
trip.
need to go visit a park in Maryland and plant something.
There you go. That works. Or just
All
kind
right.
of swim across the river. It's not that
Yep.
far. Question number 5. Approximately how many troops does the U.S. maintain in Syria as part of its campaign to defeat ISIS? 200, 900, 2,000, or 9,000?
Audience, you got to bail us out here. Dave and I have
Yeah,
no idea on
no
this.
clue on this one. I don't think
But
it's huge.
yeah, I don't. I mean, if I were going to guess, I would say that the doctrine is 9,000. I mean, we need 9,000 people to do anything in the military. But
Yeah, but I don't think they're on the ground in Syria. I think I don't think it's a big force there at all.
Yeah.
Dave says 200. Heidi says 9,000. Dan says 9,000.
I'm willing to split the difference and go 2,000.
I
I mean, you tell me. You know a lot of veterans.
do, and Dave's a veteran.
900 wouldn't shock me either.
Yeah,
One too many. I like the fact that Tom gets to answer one too many again.
$1. Oh, sorry.
I'd buy that for
I'm
$1.
gonna go 900.
900. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. Nice job. Nice job.
nice guess. There are
Good
about
job,
900
Dave,
troops in
too.
Syria fighting against ISIS, vanilla ISIS. A top U.S. official
Okay.
visited them this week. There was a vote in Congress this week about removing the authorization to have those troops there, and that failed.
Mm. Jimmy
Which,
Kimmel.
funny story about that. In reaction to that, the chair of the National Libertarian Party tweeted out that they're going to primary all the Democrats and Republicans that voted to keep the troops in Syria. Problem is, that's not how primaries work.
Yeah. I mean,
We're libertarians. We don't run in the primaries. We
yeah,
run in the general
exactly.
elections.
Well, except that, I mean, here's the thing. She's not a libertarian either.
Well,
She's talking about the Republican primaries.
well, she said Democrat and Republican, which surprised me. But
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Question number 6: which comedian is set to host the 2023 Academy Awards tonight?
It's Jimmy Kimmel.
Is it Kimmel?
Yep.
It's not Rock. I mean, it's a white dude back there.
Yeah. Well, and Chris Rock obviously got hit last time. So,
Yeah.
did you watch Chris Rock's special?
I watched the part where he talked about.
Will
I
Smith?
didn't watch the entire thing of the Will. I saw the Will Smith part, and I was like, "Yeah, nothing wrong with what he said there."
No. I think he's on point for that. I would recommend people watch it. It's good stuff. But then you should watch his really good stuff, like his stand-up routines from before, Bigger and Blacker, and what was the one that came out right after that? Those are just excellent, and I would love to recite some of that for you, but that would just be a disaster.
Yeah, that would be a
So
disaster.
I'm not going to do it.
All right. Question number 7: amid violent clashes with police, dozens of people were detained this week in which country near Russia? Estonia, Belarus, Romania, or Georgia?
Show me around your sloping mountains way down south. Take me to your daddy's farm. Right?
It is
Georgia.
Yep.
No, how does it go?
10,000 people. So tens of thousands of people gathered outside the Georgian parliament, demonstrated the controversial foreign influence bill.
Yes, that's it.
This was really cool to see. This was, we've seen protests in the last few weeks. This is an actual protest. This is how you
Yep.
protest.
Yep.
And they did this bill while the president of the country was out of the country. So they were trying to ram it down her throat, which would be interesting. So, yeah, good on Georgia to get that. They did eventually pull it back, but I'm sure that Vladimir Putin is pushing for parliamentarians to do his dirty work.
Exactly. I think that it would be interesting to see some other of the formerly occupied by Russia countries like Georgia or
They still got territory occupied by Georgia, and that they're occupied by
by
Russia.
Russia. Yep.
South Ossetia and Abkhazia, I believe is the other
Yep.
one.
And so it would be interesting to see them push back a little bit right now.
Well, the word is that the Russian-controlled areas, they've been calling up troops and putting them on heightened status. So I don't think Russia wants to fight a two-front war because the first front that they're fighting is not going well. I
Nope.
don't think the second fight will go as well either. Although they did kind of hand Georgia their lunch when they invaded
But
back
I
in
mean,
the day. So
that's it's it's not comparable, right?
No.
Russia on their own against Georgia, no deal. But Russia is fully invested in the Ukraine right now.
Yep.
Right. And we've seen how bad their logistics are.
Yep.
They could not fight a two-front war.
Bakhmut. I mean, they've been trying to take Bakhmut for how long? And every attempt at taking Bakhmut has been repelled.
It's unbelievable. And I mean, I do think that they actually will get it eventually, just because it's not worth it to hold. Except that,
It's a psychological thing. I mean,
it is a psychological
on
thing.
both
We're
sides.
talking about the area where the Russians drew a line in the sand and they said, we're going to hold Stalingrad, which
Yeah.
is now called Volgograd.
Volgograd,
Um, and they drew that line in the sand, and it was a big deal. So, maybe the Ukrainians are remembering that part of the history and say, you know what, we're going to hold it.
Question number 8. Which network aired false depictions of the January 6, 2021 attack this week, drawing widespread criticism and for misleading its audience?
All right,
ABC,
so
CBS, Fox News, or MSNBC?
I mean, we know it's Fox News, but let's object here a little bit. So first of all, that wording is not right. So if you scroll up just a little bit, it wasn't false depictions. Okay, they showed real footage,
They did.
but they cherry picked what's out there.
Oh, yeah.
And to talk about it realistically, if I say, okay, there's a point in time at which, I'm showing you security camera footage from when somebody robs a bank, I can show you the bank robbers, and for 90% of the time they're in the bank, they're not doing anything wrong.
Yes.
But they're still robbing the bank. So the fact that there is footage of people not being violent isn't surprising. If the shaman could come in and maintain 100% violence while he was in there, that would be impressive.
Yes. I mean,
Tucker Carlson, what he did is despicable.
it is. Yeah, he's a joke. I mean, like it's just getting worse and worse. Like I cherry picking all that. I mean, it's like the example I gave was, all right, somebody decides to rob a convenience store, and on their way in the convenience store, they knock over a display, and they, go through the robbery, take all the product, take the money. On their way out, they pick up the display and put the products back. Not likely, but hey, maybe they're good natured, and then they leave. They still robbed the place.
Yeah. Or similarly, they're robbing the place and they tell the guy behind the counter, look, I'm going to kill you unless you let me into the freezer section so I can get a cold beer. And the guy walks him back there. They have footage on the security camera of the guy walking back there. That doesn't mean that he's actually like letting him in or anything like that. It means that he is deliberately trying to save his life. And in fact, that's what the Capitol Police said that they were doing. They said we made strategic decisions to not fight them in certain places, to
Yeah.
let people in and to lead them around so that we could maintain the security of the places that had to be secure. So they led them on tours away from where people were. And in fact, at one point in time, there's I can't remember the guy's name, an African American officer, and you see footage
Oh,
of
yeah,
him
yeah.
coming upstairs, and he led his mob away from where a bunch of senators were sheltered because he knew that's what was going on. So it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it was absolutely ridiculous. Um, Question number 9. Large parts
We
of
should
which
start
state?
calling him. We need a good nickname for Tucker Carlson.
Uh,
Tokyo Tucker is my starting name.
I
I don't know
mean,
if that does
playing
that make
off,
sense to any of the younger kids out there? I know
playing off.
Dave gets it, but does anybody
Yeah.
else understand what I mean when I say Tokyo Tucker? And Tom, when I say younger kids, I don't mean you.
I would say that based off the name Tucker,
Yeah.
we could
Oh,
just call him
right. There
Buffalo
could be
Bill, Buffalo Bill Carlson, because he's a
right,
Tucker.
right. Well, you're right. There are some words that rhyme with Tucker that we could use.
This is true. Yes.
Yeah, Mother Tucker is pretty good. All right. Large
Nice.
parts, yeah, California.
Yeah, it's California. It's
Another
across central and northern California are grappling with major snowstorm system. Heavy rain threatening to cause widespread flooding in areas that have been in drought for the most of the and burned down the last few years. So
It's so interesting too that, here you have this water in convenient transportable format, but it's just impossible to do.
yeah,
Yeah, Mother Tucker is
yeah, that works.
that's what we should start referring to him as.
Professional baseball player Justin Turner was hit by a fastball in a game this week, which resulting in 16 pitches to the face. Which team
Stitches.
does he play for? He plays for the Red Sox, doesn't he? No,
I have no idea.
I think so.
I'm all consumed with the Bruins at this point in time.
Well, and
But I see a red jersey, and so Red Sox makes sense.
yeah. All right. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Took one in the face.
Yep.
Never fun.
No.
First game I ever played. First little league game I ever played. I got hit in the head, which explains a lot.
Yep. Were you wearing a helmet? A
I
batting helmet?
wasn't wearing a helmet, but it glanced off the visor of my helmet and hit me in the cheek.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He was on the Dodgers, but the Dodgers have spent so much money. They gotta they gotta ship some players out. So yeah.
My worst sports injury. I played lacrosse in college, and
Should take one of the seeds.
I did not take one of the seeds actually. I took one right in the middle of the chest, and we used to talk about,
Oh,
that's your job, is we would call it you taking the chow. So, somebody's shooting something like that, and I happened to be there. I was a midfielder, but they'd run in reverse, and so I was on the crease, and I saw it coming in. Oh man, that really hurt. Didn't break a
well,
rib, but
we talked about we saw the injury to the player for the Bills this year with where his heart stopped. I
yep,
remember back in '98 when Chris Pronger for the St. Louis Blues got hit in the chest with a
yep,
puck, and it stopped his heart. Same issue.
yep, yep.
It's very dangerous. Like
It is.
there's a chance that if you get hit at the right time in the right place,
Yep,
it'll stop your heart, and
yep.
it's scary.
But it's worth it. I I would have risked much more to play sports. So rewarding in my life.
We used to play football at lunch when I was in high school. They just no pads, just tackle
Yep.
football. Um, and it seemed like every one of our games. I had a friend named Jeff that would he every game would end with him getting racked, and he was like, "The game's over," and Jeff got racked. And one time, I'm running down the field. Now, portly kid running down the field, and Jeff is on the track team. So he tracks me down and tackles me from behind. Now it would have been now it's considered an illegal tackle, a horse collar tackle, but he gets me from behind. And I didn't realize it, but at the time my elbow swings back with the football, elbow contact and the nose of the football contact left him on the ground rolling around in pain for a while. So that's how that game ended.
Interesting.
Never tackle me from behind. Just remember that.
Somebody sent me a text message that Stalingrad, now known as Volgograd, is not in the Ukraine. It is actually in the province of Volgograd. So,
There you go. All right. We're
which
learning
means
things.
the Germans advanced really far into Russia.
They did. So we got 8 out of 10 this week. Not bad, not great.
It's not bad. I mean, there was a point in time which we had 1 out of 3. So,
Yeah, and then we had a nice streak towards the end. So
yep.
finished strong. We got that good going. All right. So let's see in the news this week. We getting across the U.S.-Mexico border has been kind of dicey for some folks. We had kidnapping of 2 people, murder of 2 additional people in that party, and then later in the week we had another kidnapping.
So I did my first undergrad at the University of Texas in Austin.
Yeah.
And the popular place to go for spring break was South Padre Island.
Yep.
And I think even now
Oh, Matamoros.
Exactly. So we would go over to Matamoros. But there was a time that the Santeria cult was going on there, and they were actively kidnapping Americans and sacrificing them for this, that, or the other thing. And then they
Yeah.
made that song about it. Don't practice Santeria.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. But you know, it, the same thing could have happened anywhere. They say it was a case of mistaken identity, and
But I do
whatever.
think that legit was the issue was that they thought that these were folks coming in to, hit their turf or whatever.
Right.
It was just a mistake, but
But here's the thing: people who are fans of the show, you know what I'm going to say next. Who's really responsible for this?
the government.
It's the government. Because Dave, why were they going there?
To get cheap surgery.
Why
Uh,
couldn't the doctors just come over the border and do practice in the United States, where it was nice and safe?
Yeah.
Because the government sucks. The
Government
government
sucks.
controls your health care. Okay.
Yep.
How ridiculous is it that these people, it's legal for them to go have the surgery on another side of the line, but it's not legal for them to pay for that guy to come into the United States and have the exact same surgery there because it's their option. It's stupid. Borders are ridiculous, especially when borders cause the death of the people who aren't able to cross them or who cross them and now things aren't safe for them anymore. So,
And over licensure is, another impact that, get that the amount of money that it takes to have and maintain a license, the tort issues when it comes to medical malpractice and all that stuff, driven a lot of American doctors down to Mexico to practice. Like, I don't think it's
yep,
inherently unsafe to go to Mexico to get a medical procedure. In fact, dental tourism to Mexico is off the chain. Like,
yep,
for what you would pay to get, dental implants in the United States, you could fly down to Mexico, stay in like Cancun or
luxury hotels.
Cozumel, yeah, and stay for 2 weeks, get the procedure, be there long enough to get your teeth put in, and still have time for a vacation. So, and it'd be far cheaper than what you do in the United States. So yeah, I mean,
Yep,
it's the government, it's the border, it's all that crap.
yep.
So
There's a hotel. There's a hospital in Thailand that is
that's
staffed
another thing.
entirely by doctors. Uh, wow. All right, Pat. I can't talk about that. Oh my God. Well, I guess we're going to put it up there. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I can't tell you that I'm shocked, but that's some inside baseball
Yeah.
for people who don't know. But Tom Mann and the person who shall not be mentioned. Can we call since we're coming up with nicknames? We can call him Fortimort. Um, um, or yeah, Voldefort. Voldeford. Voldeford might be better. Um, anyway, what was I talking about beforehand? Oh, yeah. So this is hospital in Thailand, and it's all American doctors.
Mhm.
They opened it up specifically for medical tourism, and you
Yep.
can go there, and it's on a beautiful beach in Thailand. And you go there, and you can get. The last I saw, a guy went there to get open heart surgery there for. That's pretty funny.
It is.
He got open heart surgery for like $10,000,
Yeah.
which out of pocket in the United States would be at least $25,000.
Oh, yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense. It's going to be interesting to see if insurance companies start opening up their own private hospitals overseas or in places where they can do things more cheaply, right?
Yeah.
That's not the United States.
It makes sense, like, we encourage you to go to Thailand or go to Mexico or go to Costa Rica and get these procedures done, because it's far cheaper than what we would have to pay in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, Costa Rica would be a great choice. You know what? They build a hospital facility. They get their own. They put hotels on it. Their own private security forces, all that stuff. Fund it with American money.
The only thing is Americans really ruined Costa Rica. It's really expensive now, so it's not
Okay,
the
so
the deal it once was.
all right. How about this then? We put it on giant cruise ship and it sails around in international waters, this is a good idea.
Seasteading, yeah. I mean, medical
It's
seastead.
but what's that? What's that virus? Norwalk virus that
Oh,
you get with cruise ships.
yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting point. So you want to say this too, having worked at a hospital, just a general public service announcement. The most dangerous place you can be. So first of all, when COVID broke out, there's all these things about, oh, American healthcare system is so terrible because you we don't have that many ICU beds.
Yeah.
That's actually because our system is so advanced, because you don't want to have people in the hospital. The hospital is an incredibly dangerous place to be because it's filled with sick people. Or, as the joke I like to say is, hospital so popular, people are dying to get in. Don't. Shh. But we do have this truth that there are staph infections and all sorts of bad things that can happen in hospitals. So you don't want to go to a hospital unless you have to. Now, if you have to, that's funny. Hospitals are well staffed. Man's on fire today.
There he is. There
He
he is.
really is.
Well,
Guy comes back from Ireland and he's full of the
I do have a question about this. That Ramada that they were staying at, is that the one over by Winrock, Coronado Mall area? Because I got a good story about that Ramada.
Tom will know. I didn't even realize. Was it the LNC meeting was this weekend?
Yeah, in
Last
Albuquerque.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's got, and definitely the truth that Ken Matz said was the war on drugs. I mean,
Yep.
why you got cartels down there is to protect their drug turf, and
That's a great point, Ken.
yeah, I mean,
Yep.
absolutely, we got to end the drug war, and that's what's going to kill the Mexican cartels.
Yep. Take away the money.
Yeah.
The currency.
Well, it's the danger of the narcotics business that necessitates the presence of cartels to enforce arbitrary rules. So
The danger and the money.
yeah,
Because obviously, you want to see what happens when anybody who wants to can grow cannabis. Go to Oregon. Oregon has such an amazing overgrowth of pot right now that it's very difficult to give it away. Well, it's also illegal in some cases, but
that's usually where I stay in Albuquerque. That were probably one of those two homeless motels. There's like a Days Inn that is ridiculously cheap, and I'm not somebody who's very picky about where I stay at a hotel. So
that's where you usually work.
no, stay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's where I work. Yeah,
Sorry.
Daddy's gonna make that hotel room money.
No shame in my game.
That's right. um, let's see. Ban on gender affirming week. So yesterday was passed. Now it could have been worse. The bill that was before the state senate in West Virginia originally had, as passed from the House, had a ban on hormone therapy for anybody under the age of 18. That was turned back by the Republican majority leader of the state senate, Tom Tacuba, who's a medical professional, and actually sought medical advice from people who practice that type of medicine, informing his decision on fighting back and removing the ban for those things. Now, is the bill perfect now? No, it's a piece of crap. But removing that ban at least allows for some treatment of transgender youth in West Virginia to continue, not leaving them out in the cold until they turn the age of 18 or can get across the border to another facility. Um, I've got several friends in the state of West Virginia that have trans kids that would have been impacted by this bill. And I'm glad that part got removed. It's still bad law. I mean, essentially it does now is it prevents surgeries, gender affirming surgeries from taking place for under age 18. The thing is, you know how many gender affirming surgeries happen in the state of West Virginia?
I'm going to guess 12.
0.
Oh,
Zero.
twice as many as I thought.
Yeah. I mean, they wrote a law for something that does not happen in the state of West Virginia.
Right. Because if you were going to have gender affirming surgery, you would have left West Virginia a long time ago.
Probably, yeah. I mean, they're, this the state, at least on my side of the state, there are. I mean, WVU medicine is really good. I mean, they produce a ton of doctors every year, um, but there are states around here that can provide that surgery and better hospital centers and stuff that are focused on that type of care. So, yeah, if you're going for the full surgery,
I just saw the thing Tom sent to us.
uh-oh.
It's you can't show it on screen, unfortunately, but it's pretty funny. Tom, that's good stuff. The only thing that would have been funnier is if you'd put Pat's picture on it instead.
But whose picture?
Pat Ford's picture.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
Because I think that there's a picture. There was a point where we were driving. It was either back or to Mexico. I think it was back from Mexico, and Pat made a stop so that he could get a couple 7-Eleven hot dogs. And there was such a photo opportunity there that that was
No,
pretty strange.
no.
Anyway, uh,
That's some
what,
struggle food right there.
what were we talking about just before this?
The gender affirming care in West Virginia.
Oh yeah. So the like everything else, all the shit is getting screwed up by the government.
Yeah.
If there were, you know, if we didn't have a scenario where, like, there was taxpayer money being spent on some things, and I don't think there's a lot of taxpayer money being spent on this anyway, but we wouldn't have any of these talks. Now that's a cop out because here's the other thing. Okay, we live in a society where people need some people need charity in their lives.
Mhm.
In the past, we used to provide that through private sources. The American system has ended a lot of that. Okay, the government actively tries to take money away from you so that you can't contribute to charity because the government wants to own the charity space. Government wants to be your daddy. Government wants to pay for all that stuff. So here we are in this scenario where people need help and they want to use this, right? They want to use what they've done with government and taking away private charity to say, not for you, because we don't approve of your lifestyle.
Yeah.
We don't approve what we're doing. We are denying you charity that would have been there from a private source if we hadn't gotten rid of all the private charity sources that were out there. So, no, fuck you guys. I mean, fuck you for ruining private charity,
Yeah.
but double fuck you for ruining private charity and then saying, now that we control charity, it's only going to be people that we deem are worthy.
Exactly.
So that part of it's got to stop. Now, the one other complicated thing around this is that there are some issues that we don't know what the answers to them are right now. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in dealing with people who are transitioning, transitional behaviors, stuff like that. We don't have great answers to them. And so in situations where we don't know definitive answers, where we don't have great answers, the only way we can act, the only way we should act is to be as kind as possible to everybody. Listen to people, hear them, and if it doesn't affect you, if it doesn't hurt you, be as kind as you can. And that should be our goal for everything. It shouldn't have anything to do with trans. It should have to do with everything. Treat people as well as you can all the time. That's never going to go wrong. And the people who said, go ahead.
Using the force of government, and that's the thing. I mean, these people can claim that they're small government conservatives, and but the first thing they do when they get in power, and this is a super majority in the state of West Virginia, is to go after people by using government to do so. Like that's not small government at all.
No.
Like,
Right.
Look at what you promised, and that I long ago gave up on the Republicans for doing that. I remember them, late '90s talking about the small government then, and then watching them pass, No Child Left Behind and all that stuff, and saying, "Yeah, I don't think we're ever going to get this small government."
And there's all this stuff going on too, where there are questions about children being brought to drag shows
Or
and uh, teachers advocating for a gay lifestyle. So there have been occasional situations where children have gone to sexually explicit drag shows. There's a pretty well documented case in Austin. Shouldn't have happened. But you know what? There are parents who take kids to all sorts of inappropriate stuff all the time. We don't need a specific law against drag shows. We need a law against obscenity in public. Okay. Now, what defines obscenity? Stuff like that. It gets super complicated as well. And I wish that we didn't have to do any of that stuff. And the way that we don't have to do any of that stuff is if parents make informed decisions for their own children. Who are all these people out there saying, I want to make decision for other people's kids, and I want other people to make decisions for my kids? Because that's what they're saying. That part of it is just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah,
What else is on
it
our
is.
list?
Let's see. Oscars are tonight. So, looking at the results so far, Best Director goes to Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yep.
They won a lot of awards tonight. So, Best Film Editing, uh, a Bollywood score, Not To, won the Best Original Song.
Interesting.
So, the first time that it's gone
Is that
to
from RRR?
yes,
All right.
yeah. So, Top Gun Maverick, one of your favorite movies, got Best Sound. Best Screenplay went to Women Talking. Um, Screenplay goes to Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Jamie Lee Curtis won in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a sporting role.
Avatar: The Way of the Water one's for Best Visual Effects.
Yeah,
Uh,
this is not shocking.
Best Original Score goes to All Quiet on the Western Front.
Yep.
Best Production Design as well.
Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio won Best Animated.
Yeah, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse wins Best Animated Short Film. Is that his movie or is that a different one?
Brendan Fraser won for The Whale.
Yep. Best International Feature Film was All Quiet. So, yeah, that's what we're looking at. Oh, Ruth Carter makes history. Best Costume Design for Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
Yeah,
And The Whale
mean,
wins Best Makeup and Hairstyling.
I don't think I've ever watched the Oscars.
I haven't
Certainly
either.
never watched the
Not
whole
in
thing.
years.
I happened to catch the ending of the one where La La Land was said they won and then they didn't win, or
Yeah.
whichever was the other way that happened. Just happened to turn in for like the last minute of it and see that happen, which was pretty exciting. But I mean, I like the awards, but the show is just so long.
Yeah,
And
it is, and a lot of filler. Like, I mean, it's just it could be a lot shorter of a show
right.
and be more entertaining than let's see a
What's
Broadway number based off of this song. I'm like, I really don't
Right.
care, you know.
And the fact that they sort of have this mystery of how the voting gets done as well. I
Yeah.
mean, it's the Academy and stuff like that, but
I was
it's
just hoping to
interesting.
see somebody get cranked again this year, like last year. But
Exactly. And I actually am a member of the Academy, and so I have my ballot. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not a member.
I said, well, I think to make the Academy Awards a little more exciting is next year one random winner instead of getting the statue gets a slap. Just walk
Slap by
the
Will Smith.
they help us the hold the statue out, and as they go to grab the statue, attack.
There was a scene in the Jackass movies where they had this giant hand that would come across and like people walking through a door and it would just,
Yeah.
what a catch. Just smack them.
Nice.
That would be pretty funny. I think if I were going to make the Oscars better, I would have a public voting component, because then I think people would watch more. And so, you know,
Yeah.
have the Academy vote count for 80% and have the public vote count for 20%. And do it like fucking American Idol, right? Let people call in, stuff like that. You make money on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that
Man,
I think would return some interest to it. I
I should be
mean,
the showrunner for the Oscars next
it's
year.
hard for me to watch because I really don't watch a whole lot of movies.
Yeah.
So, Inniskillin, that sounds like a Swedish movie to me.
Looking at what was nominated for Best Picture, I think the only movie that I saw this year was Maverick.
Michelle Yeoh won Best Actress.
Good, that's good. First
Best
Asian
Actor.
woman to win Best Actress, but
Yeah,
also
Best
by
Actor
all
for
counts, that was
Chemistry.
the best movie.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that
And it was
that's
sci-fi, which sci-fi doesn't win a lot of big time awards.
I still haven't watched the movie. I
I
want
haven't
to.
either. I'll put it on my
Um,
list though.
yeah,
Where
I'll
is it
check it
playing
out.
now?
It's probably on Hulu or
Hold on one second. I'll tell you where it's streaming.
Netflix.
You can watch it now on Paramount
Yeah.
if you have a subscription. Um, let's see. On Amazon, you have to
Uh,
have Showtime.
The Irish flick. Are you talking about The Irish Goodbye or The Long Goodbye or something like that? I something Goodbye. That actually won an award.
The Quiet
And
Girl, I think he's talking about.
which one?
The Quiet Girl?
No, it's like The Irish Goodbye or something like that is best short film. Um, that won that category.
Hmm.
But yeah, so the other news tonight, I'm going to share this because this is probably going to be the last time I ever see this happen. NCAA tournament. And down here, look at that. Number 14 seed,
Yeah.
Kennesaw State. My Owls. Woo! It made the tournament. Playing Xavier Friday at 12:40. So I'll know early in the day on Friday whether or not they advance. But your Texas Longhorns got a second seed.
Yeah. I mean, they won the Southwest, not Southwest, the Big 12 championship. So, I mean, they deserve it. They beat Kansas to get there. The Big 12 was arguably the strongest conference for basketball this year.
Well, yeah, I see West Virginia got in. I didn't think they were going to get into the tournament.
Baylor's
Yeah, so they
in,
got
Texas
Colgate.
Tech. Yeah. So, I mean, it was a strong year. All right. But here's one. Actually, I see Baylor is playing
Iowa State.
UC Santa Barbara in the first round. Do you know what the mascot of UC Santa Barbara is?
Are they the Gauchos?
They are the Gauchos. Outstanding job, Dave. You should be
Well,
very proud of
I
that.
used to live out west, and New Mexico State was in the same conference as UCSB.
That is very impressive.
Yeah.
Now,
I'm really good at college mascots. So.
let me give people some voting advice. First of all, let me complain about the fact that it is not easy for me to, thank you, Tom, for updating us. That it's not easy for me to have a private pool with my friends and bet money.
Yeah.
Why? So stupid.
It's government because they don't want you betting where
It's
it's not
fucking
controlled
government.
by sports books.
I wish there were a party that was committed to smaller government than as opposed to one that supports the Russians. I do
This
own
is
the
this is true. This was an interesting story throughout the
yeah. Let's hear it.
So New Mexico State, traditional Western Athletic Conference powerhouse, um, had been into the dance like several years in a row, and their coach left this last offseason for Mississippi State. They get a new coach. Immediately start having problems during a visit to Albuquerque. One of their players to play the rival University of New Mexico. One of their players apparently was ambushed by a few students at UNM, and he shot one of them and killed one of them.
Wow.
That wasn't the big thing, though. Apparently, the school, or the basketball team had significant hazing going on. So they actually shut down the basketball program sometime in early February. So they forfeited the rest of their games this year. Um, they're moving to a new conference. They're going to be in Conference USA next season. But yeah, New Mexico State is in a lot of trouble, and this could be something that takes a school that's had a decent basketball program for a while and kind of put them into a tailspin. So, which is fine with me because my Kennesaw State Owls are moving to Conference USA as well. So we get to see them beat the hell out of New Mexico State and have some bragging rights on some friends from New Mexico.
So who do you like to win it all?
I'd have to study a lot more. I mean, I know Kansas is very strong. I know some people are picking Alabama. Alabama's had its own problems this season with players doing dumb things and murder and all that kind of fun stuff. Um, so if I'm picking somebody right now, it's probably going to be somebody in the range of Kansas. We did talk earlier about so every year there's usually a 5-12 matchup that there's an upset out of. The 12 seed wins.
Yeah, exactly. Every year, 12 beats a 5.
Yeah. So
But
Drake is playing Miami in the Midwest.
Well, I'll tell you my big betting upset. I think Princeton is going to beat Arizona. It's a 15 against a 2.
Ooh.
But for people who don't know, Princeton plays a very different style of basketball than most teams see. Very long possessions,
Yeah.
lots of backdoor passes, and they only shoot a great shot, and they always come out incredibly strong. Arizona's
Very low
good.
scoring.
Yeah, a low scoring game. Arizona's good, but they're not a great team. So I think you can probably get pretty good money on Arizona betting right now, on Princeton betting right now. I'm going to pick Texas to go all the way because if they went all the way and won and I didn't pick them, I would feel terrible.
Well,
And this is a pretty good Texas team.
If Kennesaw State wins a couple games, beating Xavier, which I don't think is going to happen, but then they play my boss's team, Iowa State. If they win that game, they could meet Texas in the Sweet 16. So,
yep. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I'm shocked that Colgate's even in. But Texas has beaten Kansas twice soundly in the last week.
well, Colgate gives you pearly white teeth. So, I mean,
it does. There's also what's the thing with Colgate Palmolive and Satanism, right? There's some. There's
well, I mean,
symbol.
they all go together. I mean, that's just
Right.
that's synergy right there.
No, but there's something about the symbol of the company is
Oh,
some secret satanic thing with
I
like a
see.
man in the moon and something. I don't know.
Sweet.
Anyway, Colgate is what it is.
Yeah,
But
Kansas is gonna be tough.
I do have a large public pool, Dave,
Uh-oh.
and so I think that we should share it in the feeds everywhere.
Yeah.
Let me
Love
get the
that.
invite right now. Let's see. Invite friends. No, and here's the link. And so I'm going to put it in the comments right here. Oh, wait, I can't put it in the comments. So I'm going to have to give it to you.
Give it to me.
You put it in the comments. Fucking
Whoa.
CBS.
Link and a half.
Yeah. I should have shrunk that down. Hang on. Let me shrink it down with a tiny URL.
Oh, well, I got it out there. So
You all right? All right.
look at that link.
Yeah, that one's pretty crazy. Here,
My link is bigger than yours.
Let's do this one. I don't know why that's not a plug into my browser. Well, I guess I do. No, I don't. But it is interesting to see, looking at that string at the end of the tiny URL, how many tiny URLs have actually been made. So, folks, the way that works is That is an honor code system. If you submit your brackets, you are promising that at the end of the tournament, if you don't win, you will send $10 to the person who wins. And I will email you and say, here's the person who won. Please Venmo or PayPal them $10. Last year, we did pretty good. We had about 80% of the people involved send money to the winner. I'm hoping for even more this time.
There was a football pool that we were in. I don't remember ever seeing a winner email.
Because it was won in like week 3.
Yeah, but I would like to pay the person.
Oh, well, if you go back to the thing, it was Matt McLaughlin who won, and there's a Venmo and a PayPal link for him
Okay, cool.
in the thing. So this one, same thing. It's on the honor code to pay out $10.
I think I
But,
lost week 1, and I've just totally forgot.
Exactly. All of us did except for 2 people, and then one of them lost in week 2. So by week 3, Matt McLaughlin won the whole thing.
I bet Denver over Seattle first week. That's what it was. That's what did me in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but everybody lost. But
Yeah.
that's the nice thing about March Madness. And we do the traditional scoring, 1 point for the first round, 2 for 2, 4, 8, 16, 32 points for picking the winner. So the fun tournament, the link is in the chat. You guys can all see it. Not in the chat, but it's posted on all of the pages. So please sign up and play along. If you've never done it before, our March Madness pool is so much fun. In fact, oh my God, Thursday I am going somewhere. I realize I'm not going to be able to be in front of a TV at noon.
Oh,
That sucks.
it does suck.
Oh well, I'll
Damn.
make up for it.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, that's it for the week. Got anything?
That's all I got.
All right. Thanks everyone for
remember-
joining us.
If you want to send us tips, I prefer 12 gauge, but send them to me in boxes. Don't shoot them at me.
Yeah.
A 20 gauge. Sorry, not 12 gauge.
I don't prefer the tip. I prefer the whole thing. So
Mm.
that's how I do.
Say
Anyway,
goodnight, Gracie.
good night, Gracie. Next week in Political Deep Dive, we'll be talking about the environment. So join us then, and we will talk to everyone next week.